Hi, we are at the brand new Barber Motorsports Complex to find out exactly why the touring division of the Scca World Challenge is the most exciting road racing today.
The SCCA's World Challenge Road Racing Division is a national series for production-based classes, and they only allow cars built between 1997 and 2003 with mostly stock exteriors. So, what makes them race cars?
Well, obviously it's the roll cage. You can see the seat, you can see the gutted interior, but what's really tricky about these things is what's under the skin. I mean, the suspensions are totally modified. They can actually move the mounting points about an inch. So that way they can lower the car and still keep the geometry so that the handling is conserved, so you have kind of good handling. They can balance the car the way they want, and they also can replace the brakes, because stock production brakes will tend to overheat in racing conditions. So you look at a lot of these cars, they have very large brake rotors and big 4-piston calipers.
Now, since every race is televised, the SCCA varies the degree of modifications from car to car and race to race, not only making for great racing, but also great TV.
We primarily do this with weight or restrictors, and sometimes some cars need a little bit extra help getting their engine to produce the power we need, or some extra help with the suspension.
Colwell's mission is every car will be competitive and no car will dominate.
So you get a lot of different makes, you get a lot of different drivers, all very closely bunched together, and they are dogfighting to the finish. And it is so exciting. It's the only races that all of us will tape every weekend to make sure we don't miss.
So we've gathered a group of these touring cars at the new Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama to see, for example, what it takes to turn a $30,000 BMW 325i into a $150,000 racer. But lousy luck. It's pouring cats and dogs. So we'll try to salvage the day by still driving on a very wet track. But that's easy considering the series stock racing tire.
This is a Toyo Proxys T1S, and it's a tire you can use on your street car. It's not a racing rubber, so it wears kind of hard. It doesn't have a ton of grip, but really it's kind of neat because all the cars are on the same tire, so you know that's out of the equation.
And even though Mother Nature kept us from legging out these machines, Larry still bravely took trips around the track in the various models.
I mean, we put our data logger in the car, we put our V-Box in there, and we kind of measure cornering speed, we measure straight line speed, and cornering forces. But since it's so rainy, and it's so different corner to corner because it's not just wet, it's pouring out. So there's kind of rivers running down the track that the numbers are really hard to make sense of because the conditions change lap to lap.
So, while racing between the raindrops, here's what we found out. First is the Tri-Point Motorsports Mazda Protege ES.
The Mazda Protege is a great example of the unique modifications for each model, because the Mazda Protege is a front-running car. It competes with BMWs and RSXs, but it only comes stock with about 140 horsepower. So basically, the SCCA allows them a lot more engine modifications than they do perhaps some of the other cars. For example, if you look down here, this is a completely fabricated intake manifold that lets more air into the engine. They also let them use lighter engine internals that lets it rev higher. And the result is it makes almost 100 horsepower more, about 250.
But the highly modified engine wears out quickly, forcing the Tri-Point team to use 3 engines per season, while most other cars use just 1. This is Turner Motorsports' BMW 325i, probably the most popular marque in the series. Its 2.5-liter 6-cylinder engine and new computer make 260 horsepower, about 76 more than stock. And this is the kind of car that really turns a driver on.
They're rear drive versus a lot of the cars in the series are front drive, and a lot of the race drivers kind of love the handling balance that gives them. They can really dial in, understeer, and oversteer at their will, and they love driving them.
You have to be a driver, and the best drivers in sedans they are driving in this series now. It is absolutely competitive the whole time you're racing. You don't have a second to relax. It's 50 minutes of pure adrenaline, and it's addicting, it really is.
Team FBR Transport Racing brought their Lexus IS 300, and the aerodynamics of its rear wing really come into play here.
the drivers report that these wings greatly affect the balance of the cars and how well they stick in the corners. Now the IS300 here has really done, they say, a good job of making a low drag but high downforce wing, and they spent a lot of time and money developing it.
Some of the other cars in World Challenge, there's a lot more infrastructure for tuner parts and stuff that you just can bolt on and go, and you know, we had to invent a lot of things as we went along.
Now this is real-time racing's Acura RSX Type S, and it's hands down our favorite.
We use a lot of factory Honda parts. All the suspension arms, all the parts are actual Honda parts. We may change the bushings, but everything else is stock. Most of the motor, the whole gearbox is stock. And it's still a very production-based vehicle.
Now, this is kind of an important car because last year, Real Time took first and second in the championship with this car's predecessor, the Integra Type R. And the Type R was a known quantity. It was a rocket on the racetrack. But they built this car, and they actually finished second in the first race of the season, so they're off to a really good start.
So remember, the next time you see an SCCA World Challenge race in your TV guide, be sure to tune in. And we guarantee the racing you see will be even more exciting, especially now, since you know some of the secrets of these ultra-competitive street cars turned race cars.